I'm taking off the cloth around my breast. Now, my darling, don't you go lying to me about that vote for peace.
Oh my God, it's me, I die before that happens.
There's no blanket.
But I don't need a blanket, I just want to get laid.
Don't worry, you will be. I'll be right back.
This woman's killing me with all the bedding.
Yes. All right, get up.
But it's already up.
You want me to rub some scent on you?
No, by Apollo, not for me.
I'll do it, whether you want it on there or not. For Aphrodite's sake.
Son of a bitch.
Here comes the squad of ambassadors, ready their long feet.
Looking just before we reach our journey's end.
I think a lot of them are going to be covered, like some of those plastic ones.
See, my daughter drew pictures in my notebook for me at Christmas. And Papa, I love you. Aww.
Tom Anders, attorney at law.
I'm the assistant stage manager, and it's been going pretty well. I come in every day. I take notes at rehearsal. I'm basically the go-between between the actors and the stage manager. Once they are completely memorized, that's where all the hard work begins. And there's blocking and character development. And once we got that down, it's probably the funniest rehearsals I've ever been to. Because this is a Greek comedy, everything's very visual. So there's appendages and everything's just flying about, hanging out. It's very funny. The hardest part is having to go from being friends with the actors to being like in charge. I've always acted. Always. I've never tried anything else. In high school, I got involved in tech. I started building stuff. I built a bathroom. That was really cool. Full working toilet and everything. It was awesome. But college, I got into college and I'd audition for shows, and it got to the point where I wasn't getting into every show, which in high school and middle school and elementary school I was always cast. So I had to find something else to do. And tech was just my calling. I love it. And as much as I love being on stage, I just enjoy being involved in a production.
It's a wide variety of people who'd come in and work. And I think my job is always, of course, to educate them with the material that we need to cover. We also want to help them become conversant in the lively arts, that if they maybe they'll never do theater again in their lifetime, but I'm hoping that they'll become a consumer of theater, that in their community when they buy a house and find a mate and they settle down, that they're going to go to the theater in their town because they did theater in college. And if that's all I do is create a patron of the arts out there somewhere, then I've satisfied the goal of liberal arts. Yeah, well, it's an ancient Greek play, and it took place during the Peloponnesian War. But it's really it's a farce for our purposes. It's kind of a sexy, sex-centered farce. It's about a sex strike. The women are trying to keep their husbands from going to war by withholding sex. And they discover from that neither one of them can really withhold sex, that they all want to have the pleasures of the flesh. And so it's not a real successful strike, although it does, in our play, it brings about a very neat little piece. The real history is a little bit more complicated than that.
give us all stiff penises. Huh?
So this is where the audience will sit up here behind a simple railing. What we wanted to try and create is absurd sexuality. So we want it to look Greek, but we're not going to spend a lot of time obsessing over the realism of whether the columns are specifically the right period or the right city-state. We are doing a little entrance to the Acropolis, which in the real world is called the Porch of the Maidens, the formal entrance to the Acropolis. Well, our Porch of the Maidens is not exactly like the real one. It's a little bit more showgirls and a lot less, caryatid columns.
Of them all, you must now show that you're resilient.
So we're trying to create a Greek look, but we're not obsessing over the Greek detail, and we're trying to make it more colorful than classic sense of Greek architecture is, although we think maybe in the real world it was colorful at one point, that was painted, but we don't have any history of that. So we're going to go ahead and make it a colorful, comical place, not set in the real world, and trying to play this obviously adapted modern language version for this kind of silly, sexy, male-female struggle.
Then we heard you speaking out in the streets, asking openly, are there any men still left in this land? And someone said, by the gods, there is no one.
I like plays that have more of an edgy interpretation. That if they're just all light and fluff and sweet or sentimental, that doesn't interest me as much. Pretty I find rather boring. So I like things that shake the audience up a little bit in one way or another.
I love him, I do, but he's not willing to make love to me. No! Don't make me go to him, no!
Tom had fun with using, for example, some of my drawings, the idea of having the breasts on springs that he ended up actually incorporating into his design of for the temple, and the colors we talked about really early on, deciding on what the colors would be, so that would all work well together. The approach to my costume design for Lysistrata was to keep it light and humorous, and to make the costumes and scatological references something that both the audience and the performers could be comfortable with. To make sure everyone understood when the characters were supposed to be naked, but to not make it about looking at and assessing the actors' real bodies. And I think it made the union suits that we painted, and with breasts and pubic hair, and with silly colored yarn for the pubic hair, and enormous silly colored phalluses for the men, and the breasts that were on springs were so removed from reality that the idea was to make them almost cartoon-like. In such a way that nobody really had to feel self-conscious, and so the students, the actors, could really loosen up and enjoy themselves and not feel self-conscious. It took us a while to figure out how we were going to do this. Are we going to do more dramatic? Dave was wondering if we should do more dramatic mood lighting, and then we kind of landed on it being more sort of cartoon and comedic. Then he used more white light, I believe, and just made it, you know, a little more flat and straightforward. It helped also communicate that we're just having fun.
Record, enter, release. I guess there were basically two things we were trying to do for the show. First was to get a sense of the Greek sky and the sun and things like that, but also to play with the colors a little bit and to kind of push them a little bit. You know, it's a romantic sex comedy thing. And, you know, not trying to create something that was extremely real, but a little bit brighter, a little bit more colorful. A lot of the costumes have some really saturated, bright colors. I wanted to make sure that those popped. And because there was so much color in that and in the set, the lighting itself didn't need to have a whole lot of color in it, but it needed to make sure that that color came out.
They didn't even use soap.
Well, I did initial research for the sky and the sun and those types of things. So you can see in this picture how present the sky is in relation to the architecture, and so we're just really trying to get that sense of sky behind it. And I had a rough idea of what colors would probably make a wide range of color pop, but then in our early meetings, Leslie had images and things like that, and then when she first went and bought some swatches, I checked my colors again, and it turned out that for the most part my colors turned out pretty well.
This pair of gloves makes my shoulders.
But still, we've got to soldier on, giving our fire air to breathe. We may go out when no one is looking, just as we reach our journey's end.
You're gonna need to pass this tape.
Do you have that towel under there to soak up the water?
No. It's right by the... I got it. Yeah. It's under me, sorry.
It broke the tape that's surrounding the pipe that connects it to the small room.
I'm trying
We're
to
trying.
I'm just getting sick.
I have to say that was a great first opening night story. I need the skizzers.
Wait, what story?
Being stuck on the stage until the house was open.
It's not working.
No. Seriously, and there are
small amounts.
there are reasons why it's not working. It's not the machine. It's by the time it gets to the fireplace, it's all evaporated and turned into liquid.
Just give me one more piece.
Okay.
I can actually sit under here though, which is really cool.
There we go. That looks better.
Actually, I had thought I'd have some problems because we did have some, well, actually we had everybody who was inexperienced, but they all came through very well. I think the last show went fine. I think it finally all came together.
When God's bringing Lysistrata, if he's the one you want. It seems there is no need to call.
I try to do as much as I can, but there's no book on it. I've never read a book on stage managing, and my friend Amanda has been trying to help me as much as she can. Tess has been helping me. Bill tries to tell me exactly what Amanda did when she's been ASMing for him before, but really I'm learning. At the end of my first stapled script, because the script is too long for me to staple the entire thing. On page 16 is when I go out there for the first time to work on the pyrotechnics.
To light the fire.
To light the fire. And then to kill the, not the bug, the fart.
Which didn't go well last night.
Yeah, I know. Standing knife.
So we keep them bottled up.
been on stage since I was 6. So, like, I guess it's just normal for me, and I think other people are weird.
Yeah.
But
Theater people are freaks.
and I love it. I love being
put it out there.
Pulling me. Oh, get it out. Show it to me.
I'll do it. You men are born hard to please. By Athena, you picked a monstrous insect. It's a tricorinthus bug.
By saints, you've been a mighty help to me. Oh, that thing's been digging wells in me a while. Oh, now that it's removed, my eyes are streaming.
I'll wipe them for you. And though you're a scoundrel, I'll give you a kiss.
I don't want kiss.
I will, whether it's what you want or not.
This part of it, you have to kind of raise your creative energy and execute and push yourself through it with some kind of joy or passion or verve or something, whatever it requires you. And if you don't have that bud of joy, like kind of a light in you, it's hard, And so I'm on a low ebb right now, and I'm just trying to re-spark. I guess I'm trying to reignite, And there's a point where you're simply going to have to, conflagrate, because you don't have any choice. Like, oh, time to light it up. Here we go. And I know that's happened. That's, I've done this before, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I know that you survive those low ebbs with whatever energy, and you just find your way through, and we'll do that. But it's, that's the only thing I've encountered on the show is like my own personal kind of, demon I'm walking around with right now, and hopefully I'll just shed that at some point and, work through. My wife filed for divorce, and it was really out of the blue. We had been living in separate towns to be, for this job and for her job, and she was also taking care of her parents. And I really didn't expect this to happen, and it really came from, really for me, completely out of left field. And so I've been dealing with that, and it's tough. It's just it's a very hard thing to deal with. And, I suppose I could just kind of sit around and cry every day, and that would make me probably wear off the grief faster, like really seriously grieve, like really attack it in a serious way and just bundle up in a ball and, I don't know, self-medicate, whatever it would take to try and get through it. But I have to kind of rise up every day, and so I'm not really allowing myself just to kind of wallow in it. And so it's taking longer, and it's a little harder because I don't really let myself grieve a whole bunch at a time. I grieve in fits and spurts. You're watching a commercial for cotton, and that little song comes on, the fabric of your lives, and I cry a little bit then, and I'm fine, and I grieve a little bit there.
Perfect.
Did you just research shapes?
This was Helga. She has, fruit salad every day, and it's just perfect.
Yeah. It's a perfect fit.
It's a perfect fit. Some of the phalluses ended up being rather awkward. There was one that was held up the whole time, so it looked sort of, it didn't move in a way that to me worked well. And I think it would have been nice to have maybe work more with the actors with the phalluses. And we tried to get them incorporated early, but not all of them did. And that would have been nice to have the students be able to work with them sooner and really set in on rehearsals and worked through how they played in. And then there were some that I thought were great ideas that didn't work as well. Like we had the phalluses that were on springs, and the springs just sort of disappeared on stage. They became almost invisible. So what I thought was incredibly funny in theory, and made it less real because it was a spring rather than actually an appendage. It was a different kind of appendage because you could see through it. We're kind of lost on the audience, and so. I don't know how I would have done that, but that didn't pop the way I thought it would. I thought that alone would have gotten a laugh. I was so sure
and he just couldn't see him.
No! The sacred statue was in their hands. They seized their own Acropolis and blocked the doors of boats and bars.
Come, let us go as fast as we can up to the Acropolis. Come!
You know what would be good is yellow would be a good color. I'll show you which yellow. You're not telling anyone where.
He already is beaten back.
I don't have nail
Who did your makeup?
I did my makeup.
You did your makeup.
I did do my makeup.
Wow.
I mean, I was taught by Courtney, but I've been doing it myself for the past couple of months. There's a little bit of lipstick, a little bit of
Little bit. Hey, a chair so I can sit down and jam out.
I always feel like the chair is best ever. Courtney, can you
Have you nude footage yet?
I was gonna wait till the camera's off for that part.
Just because it helped you get in the
You want to find an extra gun? Our art is not permanent. Taking the set down is not only physically necessary for clearing the stage and opening the theater up to start a new show or start in the season or whatever the reason is, but there's also like a very odd spiritual ending too.
A quart of milk in less than a minute.
We are a fleeting thing, an ethereal thing. It's temporary, and we know that going in. It's difficult for young artists to understand that. You know, you get a lot of kids when they start acting, they're very upset after their show closes. They get very emotional, and that's they react poorly to that. But the fact is, that's the way it is. That you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to grieve. You're supposed to have this cathartic rush when you put something to bed. It is hot. It's from the industry. The industry generates heat. It takes a considerable less amount of time to take a set apart than just to build a set. And that's depressing in many ways because you spend 4 weeks putting it together and you take it down in a matter of hours.
It's a small one.
So striking the show is truly catharsis. Like what the Greeks thought theater was supposed to do was create a catharsis for the audience, the actual performance. The whole production has a cathartic moment, and that's when you put it away.
Hi, welcome to Home Improvement.
First they give you the enormous I don't know. They give you a broom and I don't know what my role is in life, baby. It's ridiculous.
Are you happy it's over? Yeah?
I love Strike. My favorite part of a production is the last 5 minutes of Strike. I love the last 5 minutes of Strike not because, I'm destructive or something like that. I'm like everybody else. I really don't like to clean up my toys at the end of playtime. But Strike is cathartic. It's a purge. And you get to look back on it and say, okay, this part really did work, and this part over here, yeah, let's not do that one again. getting back to that neutral state of an empty theater is just wonderful in that regard. And also, it's full of that promise of the next show you get to work on, which is part of why I like working in this field, is you're just always working on something new. Sometimes several something news at the same time.
For a costume designer, the big moment is opening night. Your job essentially is over an opening night. Then, of course, you want to see the show, you want to see how it's taken, you want to grow with it. You know, there were some people who obviously were a bit scandalized. There were always a couple people in the audience who were very uncomfortable.
Gosh, I mean, I'd die before that happens.
There's no blanket.
I don't need a blanket. I just want to get laid.
But for the most part, those houses were packed for some reason. You know, and I think we really did a good job of warning people in advance that there were going to be sexual topics and language. And I think that Paul did a wonderful job in his translation, so that the language, I really don't think was offensive. And so because it was so light and playful, everything worked together.
Make you cry. I'll lift my neck, give you a kick. Well, down there, your pubic hair's too thick.
Myron Ives had a hairy dick, and beat Bose off with his big black butt. That Formia was another one.
There is something really unfortunate about these productions that are only 2 weekends. It's really short. And when you really knock yourself out and you produce things that you think really came together well and that you're really proud of and the audiences are really enjoying, it is difficult to put them away and think, so, you know, is it really over and why can't we do it just a little bit longer, and how can we resuscitate it in some way?
I say, the Spartans are coming out again! Here, my good sir, take up the drums, so that I may dance and sing a lovely tune to honor both Athenians and ourselves. Yes, by the gods, take up the drums. I'd love to hear you Spartans dance and sing. Oh, memory, to this young man, send down your child the muse, who knows both Spartans and Athenians, back then at Artemisium, fought like gods of war, and overpowered the Madai. While we Spartans, led by Leonidas, whetted our teeth like boars with foaming mouths, would drift down on our legs. The Persian force possessed more fighting men than grains of seashore sand. Oh, Artemis, queen of the wild, slayer of beasts, chaste goddess, come here to bless our treaty and make us long united. May our peace be always blessed with friendship and prosperity, and may we put an end to all manipulating thought.